Some, not all, but some theists say some really stupid things. Apparently they know what atheists think about everything. And so we're hitting the fourth Theists Say Stupid Things with some absolute doozies. Hang around for yet another Theists Say Stupid Things. Hello, I'm the Skeptic, the British floating circle that watches people make extraordinary claims, then I explain why I don't accept what they're saying. There just seems to be a constant stream of theist videos appearing on the YouTubes, and that's where I like to grab those clips and show you what stupidity there is out there. And this episode of Theists Say Stupid Things is no different. Andrew Tate says some more stupid, Armando Calvo has double the dumb, and an old South African doctor proves God's existence. However, before more stupidity hits us in the face, if this isn't your first Skeptic video, hit the like, the subscribe and the bell to get more videos like this in your suggested feed. And a super thanks to those that hit super thanks in some recent videos. Mr. Andyware, Lark Latroy, Eric Mishima 3062, The Barely Bearable Atheist, New Pitbull 31, Rosina and Kevin. Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe bestows leaves upon you all. More hen. Well, if it's good enough for Logic, it's good enough for the Skeptic. Go on, Armando. What are you saying?
Here are some 8 amazing facts about the atheistic belief. 1. Atheists claim that nothing existed, when nothing is the absence of anything.
Do I? I don't think that that's what I believed. I thought that there was always something. Isn't it theists that say that one of the thousands of proposed gods poofed everything into existence from nothing? But how could the god exist if there was nothing for it to exist in? Off to a great start, Armando.
Number 2. Atheists believe that the great omnipotent nothing decided to blow up into 3-dimensional matters literally after being nothing forever.
I think you just reworded what you said in fact 1. Though an omnipotent nothing, some kind of weird oxymoron there, bud. Something that is able to do anything isn't a nothing. But what atheists believe that a nothing has the power to do anything? I'm not sure you understand things, Armando.
Number 3. Atheists believe that nothing created another omnipotent friend called Lady Luck. Then Lady Luck uses its omnipotence to arrange everything perfectly, in spite of the laws of science, like thermodynamics.
Whoa. I've never even thought about Lady Luck. Man, he really knows me well. I wonder how he'd feel if I told him that all Armandos believe in a giant hat that makes folks believe in floating sky wizards that poof life into existence. And Lady Luck uses his omnipotence. I think at this point, Sir Armando isn't using her brain right.
Number 4. They believe that after matter orders itself after 12 billion years, they believe that the Earth appeals to omnipotent chance to get things done.
Wait, what? That doesn't even make sense. I don't think anyone would believe that.
5. They believe that omnipresent chance finds an extraordinary mud puddle to generate all living biological forms from. That this mud puddle is so awesome, billions of years later, it can never be reproduced again.
Yeah, no one believes that either. Though I can't really speak for the other atheists. Conditions on Earth can't be replicated because the Earth isn't newly formed. Who knows, maybe we'll destroy it enough that everything becomes unstable and starts reverting back to early conditions.
Number 6. They believe that several mass extinctions happen. But evolution? Forget it. It goes into hyper mode.
What does that even mean? Mass extinction isn't the same as total wipeout.
7. They also believe that eventually an amoeba turns into an ape. But listen to how incredible this is. Later, Darwinists conjure up a theory that we, human beings, are related to apes. And interestingly enough, they accept this theory even with the lack of biological and verifiable evidence.
Humans are primates. You can look at any feature on yourself and compare it to another ape and see that there are clearly enough similarities to conclude we are not too distantly related. Just because you have no understanding of evolution and how modern humans share a common ancestor with other great apes doesn't mean it's wrong.
And lastly, number 8. The atheistic cult made a vow to stay in opposition to logic, reason, truth, and true science, and anything to simply keep God out of the equation. Those are 8 amazing facts of atheism.
There's a vow? I must have missed that. I've never taken a vow to be an atheist. Does that mean I really do believe in a God? This is life-changing. I had absolutely no idea. Well, if I do believe, I'm picking Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her. That's the only deity that makes any sense to me. Next!
If I believe in God and I'm a more powerful version of myself because I believe in him, then he must exist. There's no such thing as atheists. If you look at the people who say, oh, I don't believe in God, they worship a flag and So everyone believes in something. So you have to decide what your religion is. I, once again, refuse to believe in anything that takes away power from me. I believe in things that make me more powerful. And I believe that believing in God gives you a new degree of strength. I don't care what anybody says. If you put anyone in that submarine just before it imploded, everyone would pray. It's ignorant to even say you don't believe in God at this point.
Whoa, so much to unpack in 25 seconds of stupid. Believing in something makes you a more powerful version of yourself, so that proves the thing exists? Okay, well, belief in Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her, makes me feel more powerful. So now LTRG LBUH exists. Awesome. And there's no such thing as an atheist, huh? Okay, there's no such thing as Andrew Tate. Well, we can but wish. And Tate only believes in things that make him more powerful. How sad that he needs an undemonstrated, slightly murderous, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic, floating skyman to make him feel like he's the big daddy. Go Tate! And hang on, everyone prayed before that submarine imploded? I don't think they knew it was coming, mate. That's the point of an implosion. Next.
A Christian told me once that he thinks that everyone believes in God, but some people are just angry at him. I told him that I kind of believe that everyone knows there's no God, but they just pretend to believe for comfort. What do you guys think?
Good question. As much as it might irritate our atheist friends to hear it, there are some studies which indicate that atheists do, in fact, deep down know that God exists. For instance, this study asked religious and non-religious participants to dare God to hurt them or their family. And despite atheists rating these statements as less unpleasant than religious individuals, when they were asked to actually say these statements, the atheists showed an emotional arousal that was comparable to the religious individuals.
Whoa, buddy. Take a breath. How is that study reliable? What kind of atheists were asked? If you took an atheist that was an ex-believer, then the response would definitely be different to that of someone like me that never believed in a god. And, on closer inspection, the first study asked a whopping 16 atheists. Hoo-hoo, calm down. And also, they were inmates. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but emotional states may be very different to that of Barney the atheist who's shopping at Kroger.
The study also had the participants say the same statements about God, but instead of having them dare God to do something, they just said they wished it to happen. Both atheists and religious participants felt more emotional distress when daring God to do something than when merely saying they wished it would happen.
Could that not just have been them worried about a bad thing that could happen to someone they like?
Atheists also refused to say aloud the God statements, and they felt the need to undo the statements equally often as religious individuals did.
Maybe just because it's shitty to ask for bad things to happen to someone. Nothing to do with a god. I'd feel bad if I even jokingly said I wanted something bad to happen to a member of my family. And I definitely don't believe in any of the gods.
There was also this study which showed that when given pictures of nature and asked if it was made by a being, atheists, even those involved in atheist organizations, were more likely to respond that the nature was made by a being when they were not given time to censor their thoughts. This seems to indicate that even atheists reflectively and intuitively recognize teleology in nature, even though they are going to fill my comment section saying they don't.
I'll go one better and reply by video. Rapid quick-fire trickery to get an answer you need, and then going, aha, you said it, doesn't make it true. You can get someone to say the word most 18 times, and then ask what you put in a toaster, and more often than not, hear the word toast, when the actual answer's bread. That doesn't suddenly mean you put toast in a toaster.
There are a lot of studies similar to these that show similar results. In fact, some researchers in this field have gone so far as to suggest that atheism is only skin deep. In this paper, the researcher describes a study in which he observed atheists regularly attributing teleology to their lives despite their supposed non-beliefs. And he says, I think quite rightly, that, quote, this pattern of thinking strongly implies that atheism is more a verbal muzzling of God, a conscious, executively made decision to reject one's own intuitions about a faceless uber mind involved in our personal affairs than it is a true cognitive exorcism, end quote.
Okay, well, it seems you only live by one source for your tests, and guess what? It doesn't make any god suddenly exist. Sorry, Garby. But I can ask one or two people if a god exists, and they might say no. Does that then mean all people now don't believe in a god? I could also ask if people believe in Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, and they'd say, of course, leaf be upon her. Just check out the comments on this video. Next.
I'm Joseph Noor. I'm a medical doctor and a biochemist, and I'm the author of Document X, Direct Evidence of God's Existence. At this stage, I think it's appropriate that we explore the reasons why we believe in the God. Most of us learn about God from our parents, from religious institutions.
And doesn't that instantly raise red flags? How do you know your parents are right? Because they learned from their parents? What if your parents were Hindu, Sikh, Scientologist? Would that then mean that they are the correct religion?
But where did the idea come from? How did the idea originate?
Hard to say.
Some say psychological factors play a role. People's lives are governed by turmoil, conflict, the threat of natural disasters, misery. So to provide some degree of comfort and security, they invoke some kind of a powerful heavenly Father. But there's one curious explanation advanced by non-believing scientists, and goes something like this. They say there's no God out there. God is a product of a human imagination shaped by evolutionary forces. Let me explain what I mean by that. We've all heard of the phrase survival of the fittest. Imagine there's a species out there and some of its members have a better eyesight. Then they would tend to spot predators better and they would have a better survival value. They would eventually become the dominant species. Now the same considerations apply to the human condition. If people believe in God, say as a result of psychological forces, and they share this belief with members of the society, with other members of the society, it would tend to unite them, promote social cohesion. They would cooperate better, there would be a closer bond, and this would have improved survival value. They would live longer and is more likely to leave more offspring. They can then indoctrinate the offspring with the idea of God and so promote the God hypothesis into the future. Atheists, on the other hand, lack belief. There's not that close bond, not that close cooperation. They lack social structures.
Here's a person that hasn't ever been to an atheist convention. Or Sweden, where there's the highest percentage of non-believing citizens relative to the amount of people in the country in the world.
And this has reduced survival value. They would tend to have a shorter lifespan and would tend to leave fewer offspring to promote their godless philosophy.
Maybe come back in a few more years, if you're still alive, and recheck that. With more and more people stepping away from religion every year, there might be a point where more parents don't push gods onto their kids, and yet their kids then become decent members of society. Psst, in our house, that's already happening.
So believing God is therefore advantageous. It's a beneficial trait. And people who believe in God would be ideal candidates to be selected by the environment. In other words, they would be selected for. Atheists would be selected against.
I don't know. My wife selected me from an actual website. I don't think this has any credibility, mate.
What atheists are telling us is there's no God created man, but man created God. And this evolved or developed as a result of evolution by natural selection. So religion didn't develop as a result of an independent intellectual discipline, but was driven by evolutionary forces. And this neatly explains the persistence, universality of the religious impulse, and also explains why atheists are in the minority. So how do believers respond?
Well, that was pretty stupid. Nothing proved a God exists, and then it just ended. Absolutely pointless. Next. Oh, it's Armando again.
Here is an awesome fact. Atheists believe in God.
I knew it! Which one of you's been lying? It's obvious. We're all actually convinced of something we're not actually convinced of. I bloody knew it!
How so, you may ask?
How so? Did I do it right?
According to these 3 reasons, it seems to prove that atheists intuitively know that God exists. Here are the reasons. Reason number 1. The definition of atheism presupposes a God exists.
Well, I don't think we can top this stupidity today, so this will have to be the last video. Theism is belief in God. The A changes it to not belief in God. It's really that simple.
How so, you may ask?
How so? I'm getting good at this.
In order for you to reject God or disbelieve in God, there has to be a God being or a concept of a God being to deny.
Bravo, Armando. I think you've got it. However, a concept of something doesn't make it exist. I can conceive of a great cosmic rainbow deity, that being Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her. Does that make her exist now?
And to disbelieve. Disbelieving God does not disprove God.
Conceiving of a God doesn't prove a God. So instead of trying to shift the burden, prove the God.
Rather, it's a feeling, heart, and mind problem. If God absolutely did not exist, the term atheism would also not exist.
Exactly. But because some dum-dums say that there's a floaty sky man, folks have to say, hey, theist. I don't believe you.
But because atheism defines itself as one who disbelieves in God or rejects God,
or doesn't accept the claim made by the person that says the God exists,
it seems to presuppose that there's a God that they're capable of rejecting or disbelieving.
wrong again. You're making the claim. I simply say, I don't believe you. But keep trying. This is easy.
Reason number 2. Atheists are extremely compelled to argue against an existing being that they claim does not exist. If God absolutely does not exist, then why waste your time arguing against a non-existent being?
Easy. Because some idiots are compelled to say it does exist and make folks feel inferior for not accepting the undemonstrated and forcing their make-believe beings' laws upon people. Almando is really bad at this.
And why spend time complaining about a being that does not exist? It's almost like atheists arguing that there's nothing in this jar, but there clearly seems to be something there.
And this whole thing would go away if you could just demonstrate a God. It's really that simple.
According to the evidence, we could conclude that there is a bottle of vitamins inside this jar. But even with all the evidence, atheists still deny. So why do atheists argue against something that they don't believe?
This has got to be a comedy routine, right? No one is actually that stupid. I don't deny that there's something in that jar. I can see it. If you can show me a God, I'll accept it.
In other words, why do they argue against a non-existent being? That's like me arguing against the chupacabra or the man-bat, or even mermaids, for crying out loud.
Yep, all are equally as dumb to believe in, but then no one tells you how to live your life if you believe in mermaids.
They do not exist, so I'm not going to waste my time. Even if people strongly believe that these things exist, there's no point. But because the evidence for God's existence is so strong, they fear being completely wrong and having to submit themselves to the truth.
This guy isn't just wrong about what I believe, he's arrogant with it too, which makes him look even dumber.
We all know atheists don't want to be morally accountable, and we all know that atheists just want to go their own ways and live their life however they want to.
Oh no! How terrible! I'm sorry, I want to live my own life and not that of a wizard in the sky that thinks that owning people as property isn't terrible.
So they suppress the truth in unrighteousness, in their wickedness, in their sin. Now, reason number 3. Atheists need God in order to argue against him.
It just sounds like you're saying the same 3 things in a different way.
Atheists can't account for mind, reason, and logic. They seem to argue that mind, reason, and logic is nothing more than a product of our evolution.
So hang on, they can account for it. You just said they couldn't. Also, what's a product? And I think being a product of evolution is a far better answer than invisible sky wizard made me think things.
Nothing more than brain activity going on in your little skulls. That then raises the question, why trust what you believe? Because if what you believe solely relies on the result of your brain wiring, then you were nothing more than forcefully led to your conclusion. Therefore, you can't really observe whether or not what you believe is true or false.
Yeah, no, that makes 0 sense. So you're saying that the only reason you believe in a God is because you think a God wired your thought sponge to do it that way. I feel sorry for your thought sponge if that's the case. It doesn't sound like you're giving it a chance to reach its full potential by, thinking for yourself.
Lastly, atheists argue truth. Basically, they argue that they have a standard of truth that is greater than the truth that God exists.
How is there a greater truth? Things are either true or not true, right? There's not something that's more true. Usually, I'd say that someone says lots of things to sound smart, but it's really not the case in this instance.
But according to the atheistic worldview, what is that standard? If that standard is nothing more than human standard and what you perceive to be as true, then all of our truths are technically true. But that can't be. Because no matter which way you turn, there's always going to be an absolute truth. Just like if you say it's true that there is no absolute truth. You just made an absolute truth claim by claiming that there is no absolute truth. It's self-defeating, inconsistent, and contradictive.
Still doesn't demonstrate the God you believe in, but keep saying random words. Maybe something will eventually make some sense.
So if there is truth out there, there has to be order, design, logic, reason, purpose, and a mind that establishes this truth. That, of course, characterizes a being that can only be explained as God.
Or Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her.
Therefore, God exists, and also, by these three reasons, it proves that atheists intuitively know that God exists. They just simply reject him and have turned away their desire to know him.
What it actually shows is that you have no idea what you're saying. You can't reject something you're not convinced of.
These are irrefutable facts that are not worth arguing about, simply because they cannot be argued. Until next time, God bless every single one of you.
And leaf be upon you. Though, these things can be refuted because you have zero idea what most atheists actually believe. You clearly just have this false creation of an atheist so that you feel you can knock down their arguments. Sorry to say it, man. You can't, and you don't. If you had the initial position correct, then perhaps there'd be something in what you say. But actually, a weird false straw man isn't going to help you. Would you look at that? More stupid stuffs that theists say. Always good for a laugh. That was some more videos that point out the stupids. Feel free to message me other videos to take a look at in the next Theists Say Stupid Things. But maybe you didn't find any of this stupid. If not, let me know in the section below. I'm going to skeptic this as another load of stupidity dealt with. A big thank you to this month's top level ticks on Patreon. Godless Granny, Addy Rockhart, The Enixes, Jakari, Elizabeth, Whiskey Tech Fred, Rick and Travis, as well as all the $3 base ticks. You can become a supporter on Patreon too at patreon.com/theskeptic. The link is in the description, along with links to all my other socials. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. From me, the Skeptic, stay safe, keep thinking logically, and ask questions. Skepticism is the first step towards truth. See you next Saturday.